Welcome back to the programme. President Volodymyr Zelensky says Russian attacks have destroyed nearly a third of Ukraine's power stations, causing blackouts across the country. Russia has stepped up attacks in recent weeks on Ukraine's electricity infrastructure. Strikes have been reported against energy facilities in Kyiv, Dnipro, Zaporizhia and Kharkiv. The authorities have rushed to repair the damage, but there are concerns about how the system will cope as winter approaches. These are pictures from the capital Kyiv. The damage has sent a plume of thick black smoke into the sky. At least 2 people have been killed at one energy plant in the city. President Zelensky's office said the whole country needs to prepare for electricity, water and heating outages in the face of a concerted Russian campaign to target utilities. The Ukrainian president made another appeal for further Western military support.
In order to guarantee the protection of our skies and reduce the capabilities of Russian terrorists to zero, we need significantly more modern air defence systems and more missiles for these systems.
That was Volodymyr Zelensky. Well, as severe humanitarian consequences for Ukraine, the targeting of Ukrainian energy facilities could also impact wider European energy security. Over the summer, Ukraine linked its power grid to the EU's and began exporting a number of Eastern European countries. Following last week's strikes against its energy infrastructure, those exports ceased. While the quantities being sent to the EU are small at present, the country of Moldova is heavily reliant on Ukrainian electricity. Kyiv was forced to cut supplies by 30% following last week's strikes. Before today's strikes, BBC Hard Talk spoke to the Ukrainian energy minister about the vulnerability of Ukraine's energy grid.
We are trying to repair as quickly as we can, but it's also obvious that when the missiles hit some of any object, so it make dramatic damages to the infrastructure. But of course, the energy sector is working like 24 hours a day and repairing everything what they can. And we still maintain the stability of the system, of the energy system. We need air protection system. We need to close the sky by 100% to be sure that this missiles attack failed.
That's Ukraine's energy minister there. Well, Andriy Prokop is director of energy program at the Ukrainian Institute for the Future, an independent think tank in Kyiv. Thank you, sir, for joining us here on the program. Just tell us how significant these strikes and the cuts to power capacity has been so far.
Well, actually, as you already mentioned, Ukraine had to restrict exports to the European Union and to Moldova. So that was already an impact. Ukrainian cities have experienced cut-offs of electricity to maintain and repair some equipment, but this didn't last longer than 10, 12 hours. So in most cases, the next day after the attacks, the cities already had restored electricity supply. But that was done not because these attacks didn't affect much the power system, but because the power system was designed to be reliable and to provide electricity supplies under any scenario. So the situation is under control and power system still has reserves, but the clear thing that long-lasting such attacks will worsen the situation.
Yeah, that's the question I was going to ask. While you say that these power stations and supplies are resilient for now, if they do endure ongoing attacks, that could change.
Yeah, so Ukrainian power system, which was designed during the Soviet era, and the key task which was then to be achieved was reliability. And besides, Ukraine has an extra capacities, power generation capacities, power transmission lines, and that is actually what helped Ukraine to restore the power supply quickly.
How worried are you, though, that as we hit an increasingly difficult winter, and President Volodymyr Zelensky has told people to be prepared for bad times ahead, that it won't be as reliable and that people should be looking for alternatives?
Yeah, that's true. And I'm deeply concerned about this because it's not only just power generation plants, but cogeneration plants which produce electricity and heat. And winters in Ukraine sometimes are severe, and these attacks may affect centralized heat supply to the cities. So during the cold winter, cutting off heat supply to big cities may mean just a humanitarian disaster.
And what is the government doing to try and prepare for that? Or are they just advising people to access things like generators, for example?
That not just only advises. In some cases, local governments prepare some specific heating stations. And in some cities, like in Lviv, local government tries to organize heating stations inside the basements of every house. And besides, government is trying to prepare the additional infrastructure which might be used for organizing centralized heat and supply. But the biggest problem and the biggest threat that you cannot plan in all details under this scenario when Russia may attack, and you never know when they hit and what will be the damages. So it's really hard to make some specific focus. And that's why people have to take care about the winter by themselves as well.
Yeah, an incredibly worrying time. Adrian Prokop, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme.